As well as for a dignified life, you must strive for a dignified death.
The thinkers knew that the beautiful eternal life has many boundaries that must be crossed with dignity. Let the transition be easy, simpler, easier, higher, and more joyful. Do not concern yourselves with the souls when wings grow upon your shoulders.
You should celebrate the transition to the upper world like a feast day, solemnly, worthily, and joyfully.
One should enter joyously this beloved motherland.
At such an important step of your infinite journey, you should leave nothing to chance. As you prepare a baptism, a wedding, or a birthday party carefully, so that the celebration succeeds.
Dignified dying wants to be well planned.
There is so much to consider. Where do you want to die? At home? In an hospice? Or in a hospital? Do you really want to entrust yourself to the doctors? They do not know anything about your eternal individuality. Therefore, they tend to torment you to the last second with their attempts to extend your already completed physical life by a few insignificant hours or days.
Every traveler who is enlightened by thought about the eternal path can proceed in joy. One should approach the fiery world with a whole purpose, with all desire, and with the whole heart.
Consider carefully and in time. How do you create a pure, solemn atmosphere? Do you want to cross over alone, or are relatives or clerics to assist you? Which instructions do you have to give in order to make sure that, in fact, everything will proceed as you wish? In order to find the necessary peace, you must irrevocably sever all ties with the world, already weeks, better months before death. That means, above all, look forward, not backwards. Turn your attention away from the material world and towards the realm of the spirit. Finish your mundane projects and put them into younger hands. Settle your earthly affairs. Distribute your possessions. And, as the saying goes, put your house in order. Say goodbye to your family, friends, acquaintances, and co-workers.
Take the great step actively, consciously, and with due consideration. Do not allow fate to take you off like a passive victim, unconsciously and unprepared, in the midst of everyday hustle and bustle.
You do not necessarily have to predict, like some saints, the exact day of your death, but you should be able to sense when the end draws near, so that you may bring your normal, everyday life to a close and turn to the transition in time. The most important preparation is look forward to the new exciting stage of life that lies ahead of you. Many people are already ossified to such an extent that even the slightest change of circumstances means a problem to them. That must not be. Life is constant movement and incessant change.
To enter a new house is to open the opportunity for new accumulations of experience. One can retreat to such a state of limitation that just moving to a neighboring town becomes a major event. Worse, one could fear to move from one house to another, and even a change of garment would present difficulties. People who fear change fear death most of all. They fear to think of it, and of a passing moment they make a final state.
Regard the transition as an adventure. You will discover a new world full of the most unexpected possibilities. You will be able to realize your potential there in a way as it is never possible on the material level.
The so-called death provides the possibility for a new constellation. A high spirit does not resist a natural change of existence. He even rejoices at the possibility of improving a new aspect of his life.
For those of you who have led a decent life on earth, the transition will be an ascent to a higher, more beautiful, more comfortable level of existence.
When the boundary is crossed and one existence terminates, then the step of a higher existence begins. He who has knowledge can make these crossings no more difficult than the ascent on the rungs of a ladder.
He, however, who has led a coarse, unclean, violent, or even criminal life is right to awfully fear death. He suspects correctly the more he approaches the transition. He will be brought together with evildoers of his own kind, the pleasure of whom is to torture each other, and thus to make a hell of their existence in the hereafter.
By their death you will recognize them, those with a good and those with a bad conscience.
The right attitude towards the entering of the higher world, which we may truly call a birth, is illustrated by this beautiful story.
There once were twins in the womb talking about the upcoming birth. The pessimist said, "I am scared. I am going to die. I do not believe in life after birth. This place where I am living now is everything there is. I do not want to leave this beautiful, dark, warm world where I get without effort everything I need." The optimist said, "I am happy. I am looking forward to the new world in which I shall be living. What new experiences will I be able to make there? The optimist was born first. As soon as he came to the world, he shouted to his brother, "Come out, as quickly as possible. You cannot imagine how bright and marvelous the world is out here."
A distressing example of how not to do it is the death of the great Leo Tolstoy. His last weeks were shattered by unbearable domestic scenes and the turmoil over his legacy. He meant to evade all this by escaping from home and wrote to his wife,
"My departure will sadden you. I regret that, but please understand and believe me that I could not act differently. My situation in the house becomes unbearable. It is already unendurable. Apart from all the bad things, I can no longer live in the conditions of luxury in which I have lived up to today. And now I do what old men in my years usually do. They turn away from earthly life in order to spend their last days in seclusion and silence."
Tolstoy attempted to evade, at least at death, all the compromises to which he felt obliged during his lifetime.
At the age of 82, Tolstoy set out to finally realize the long-cherished plan of a life in poverty and seclusion. At night, secretly, the dying man left his house and his family and went away by train. He had just one purpose in mind: to get away from everyone and everything. His escape, however, ended in the middle of nowhere at the train station of a tiny village called Astapovo. There, the dying man could go no further. He was provided with a room in a signalman's cottage. There he died, after a few days, besieged by his family, countless journalists, and many curious. Not even at death, Tolstoy managed to realize his dream.
A better preparation could have prevented such an unworthy transition. When you foresee that you will not be able to find the necessary tranquility within your family, you should look in time for an ashram where this is possible. May your passage be a feast without any disturbance, solemnly anticipating the sacred atmosphere of the supermundane world, dressed in a white robe, with candles and scents, attracting higher beings and repelling lower ones. The most beautiful death I can imagine is depicted in Bernardo Bertolucci's film Little Buddha.
After fulfilling his last task, Lama Norbu sits down in the lotus position for meditation and dies peacefully in this dignified posture. For quite some time, his environment does not even notice his passing.